Hello, everyone, and welcome to Osquery Office Hours. It is mid-August. I am far from home here on the West Coast, so different background for me, different time of day. I hope you are all well, traveling home or otherwise. Uh, Off to our agenda items. Announcements and highlights. I don't know if I have any announcements and highlights. Perhaps other people do. Okay. Uh, Next section, any issues, questions, PRs people want to discuss? The intent here is to give people like sort of an ad hoc time to raise stuff. Okay, on to agenda items. The one agenda item that I know we want to talk about is cutting a 5.13.1 release. And this is primarily in response to 2 or 3 Linux crashing situations. So one of them is there's an RPM crash, which has been updated. Thank you, Stefano. And was it Lucas who dug into that as well? I think. And I guess us for finding it also. So yay. And then there's some other ones that we're in the middle of fixing right now related to recursive directory iteration. There are actually 2 pull requests open. I just merged one of them and I'm currently refactoring the other one because they're both in the same area of the code and they're sort of both around how Boost navigates the file system and handles errors from that, as well as how we handle symlink traversals there. I'm not really sure what we have to say about these other than, boy, we should get these merged and then cut the release.
I saw that there was some discussion between you and Stefano, like, are you guys good? Do you need further hands or eyes?
I'm going to need more eyes on that. So I merged 8392, which is the one about how we handle symlinks from Victor's at Fleet, right?
Yeah.
From Victor. And I am currently in the middle of refactoring 8399. It may be refactored. I ran out of time just before this meeting.
Sorry, 8399. Is that, you mean 8392?
Oh, I have them backwards. I'm so sorry. I merged
Okay,
8399 and I'm currently refactoring 8392.
Got it.
May have already refactored it. Let's see if I refactored it. But I haven't actually, let it go through CI yet and verified that I didn't break anything in the refactoring. Yeah, it looks like I have refactored and pushed an update in, but I was just stepping through a diff to make sure I didn't break anything, that it still looks reasonable. I think they're all mostly straightforward, so not a whole lot to say other than yay crashes.
Stefano, do you feel confident like reviewing those changes, or do you want me to get in on that as well?
Yeah, I might not have time. I think I'll have time. I'll have time tomorrow to look into this, though. I'm not able today.
Okay. I might be able to take a look at it today. So if we want to accelerate things, otherwise, Stefano getting to it tomorrow sounds good.
If you're up for looking at it today, I think it's been lingering for a while. I'd love to get 13.1 cut.
Be nice to get it done.
Yeah, just because I know there's a lot of, I think we have, yeah, it's at least 2 crashes and 1 kind of feature bug. So.
Yeah, and they're not new, right?
Correct.
Huh, so interesting that they all came up at once.
Yeah. But the RPM one, I assume, has been around a while. and the boost file system ones similarly.
So when we are ready to cut it, I can go through the Windows code signing on through Fleet's
Thank you.
keys again.
Thank you.
We are, by the way, still attempting to get code signing certs through Microsoft. Someone at Microsoft says that they're looking into why we're not succeeding the identity validation. The folks at Linux Foundation have been pretty responsive and helpful in terms of getting me the resources. Unfortunately, like, it's just not as straightforward, the identity, as I think Microsoft would like. But the Linux Foundation people have been helpful and pretty responsive about it. At this point, I am waiting on Microsoft to hear what it is that they need, what their issue is. They say they're looking into it. We will see. It does seem that other people who've asked on the Microsoft Q&A forum have gotten responses from people and then have gotten their identity validations sorted out. It's a bit of a bizarre support process that this all happens in public, but we'll take what we can get.
Sounds hopeful.
Yeah.
I don't think we have. Is there anything else around 513? But thank you, Zach and Fleet, for signing. Hopefully we can stop doing that soon. And
Yeah, hopefully so. And it turned out to be not hard. It took some fiddling to figure out how to get everything from one CI to another and stuff, but it seemed like in the end it worked well. It should be relatively easy to do it again for 5.13.1. And I think that I learned some things that will help for once we actually get our new signing certificate, getting that set up as well. So it's certainly not all in vain.
awesome. Cool. I know we have a bunch of other PRs, but I'm holding off from merging anything else until we cut 5.13.1.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot there, so it seems safe right now. Do folks want to talk about anything? Anything people want to raise?
Charvel, I remember you were bringing up something about network connections on the macOS beta. Wonder if you have any update around that?
I do not. The response I have is please file a radar or feedback assistant from Apple, and
Okay.
they will forward it where it needs to be. So I'm like, okay,
Okay.
I'll keep pinging folks, and I'll do that. I actually have done that, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. And related to that, sort of related, we found out a customer, I think, reported that firewall rules are no longer stored in a file in the beta. Seth?
Socket filter CLI is the way to go now, and we can't get it anymore officially.
So Micah, who is on this call, dug into this for us, and because we also discovered this, and I'll just say what Micah told me, which is that we have not found any file system artifacts that hold the current rules. The supported Apple way of getting this is a shell exec to a tool. And this, I think, actually is a very interesting question for us, the Osquery steering committee, because do we want to bring in shell execs here, or do we want to like attempt to reverse engineer what's happening?
That's what we've the
private.
latter is what we've always done in the past.
I don't know if it's still possible. I haven't done any work there yet.
I don't have the beta running currently, but now if it's behind an entitlement, it may not even be possible. And since there are no likeplists to read, or there are no like SQLite databases to read, or any global preferences to read. Yeah, but it is an interesting question. I know we kind of also at a long time back talked about Osquery shipping kind of like an official extensions repo, or at least having an official extensions repo. So, but yeah, I think that's a longer discussion. But I think we'll slowly kind of bump into these kind of issues more and more, at least on Mac OS.
My hunch is that an extension feels like the wrong path here, and I can't quite say why.
I mean, Steph, I think that you were suggesting like maybe putting in shelling out into the core where it's the only way. Which
I mean,
I don't love it, but if it's the only way to get the data and people need the data.
that's kind of where I'm landing, and I feel like we have a very strong ideological opposition to shelling out, which I agree with personally. And shelling out has often been a just tremendously harmful way to get information in the Unix world. Like it always seems appealing, and then you run into countless problems. But I'm really stuck with, well, what do we do if that's all Apple allows? And how do we get there? And it just feels like a very core question for us. And opening the door to shelling out also opens the door to like the next time we have to do it. And I don't love that either.
The reason why I brought this up was partly because we filed a feedback about this no longer being available, and we encouraged our customer to do that as well.
And
yeah.
I think at the last release notes, the beta, whatever, 2 or 3, they explicitly mentioned that use the socket FWCTL, whatever the CLI is called, to get that data. So
it's like socket filter FW or something.
Something like that. Like we added a launcher table because that's reasonable for us, and I assume you'll add an orbit table as another stopgap. But I think that neither of those solve the real problem, which is like, what should we as a project do with these changes?
Yeah.
And I haven't reverse engineered this, but I know that Apple's done some kind of weird stuff where like some of their commands are front ends that end up passing over an RPC interface to some back end thing. So like some of them have additional spawns under the hood too. It's all very, I don't know what, Apple-y or something. I guess probably someone should see if we can reverse engineer a framework call out of this. And if not, then maybe we keep struggling with the question of.
Yeah, given enough resources, everything is reverse engineerable. Yeah.
I have done it in the past. I can't remember for what. I remember referring to Mikey Frogger's talk from the first QueryCon, maybe, where he gave a good overview of how to do this kind of reverse engineering. That was useful, and it can work.
There's definitely several ways to get there.
And we do have precedent of using private APIs in some places. So
yeah.
I don't know if anyone's in a position where they want to pick up reverse engineering this right now.
I don't have the bandwidth for the next 2-3 weeks, unfortunately, but something that I kind of like poking around at least. But
I mean, nothing's changing here, right?
I guess the other thing I should note is mid next week, I'm going away for my annual Burning Man trip. So I'll be off the grid for 2 weeks or so. What I'll try to do is leave the code signing through fleet certificate set up and some instructions for someone in the fleet team to be able to handle that while I'm gone if we need to do an emergency release of Osquery or something like that.
I mean, if we absolutely need to, I can figure out how to do it through the Collide stuff too. The Collide stuff is all tied into a whole other set of GitHub automation, so it's not quite as obvious as it could be. But I could make that work if we needed to.
It should be relatively trivial for me to leave it functional, so I will just do that.
Let's also maybe try and get 13.1 out before then.
Yes, let's definitely do that. Let's get 13.1 out this week.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty good if we could get it out this week. Yeah, I think 8392 is pretty small now, and we can look at that, and then we'll cut 13.1. When do you leave for Burning Man?
A week from tomorrow.
Hopefully, I think maybe that's okay for timing. We'll see, I guess. Other things people want to talk about?
Steph, just by the way, look, I see a spilled issue on your PR.
Or which issue? I see the CI didn't go. Or CI failed it, but I don't know why.
8392.
Yeah, I don't know why CI doesn't like it yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's legit.
Seems like maybe we should wrap up the meeting.
If no one wants to talk about anything else, I will suggest we end early, and I will go and make this PR work.
Steph, just ping me when you're ready for me to take a look at it.
Okay, I'm going to aim for the next hour or so. So
Okay, sounds good.
hopefully it won't be super long. Anyone else have anything they would like to say?
I don't really want to bother anyone with this, but I do have a couple PRs that have been sitting around for a little bit that would be great to maybe get some more eyes on. I know Stefano reviewed the processing and constraints, and I've made some updates to that PR. So yeah, I don't really I won't say any of it's critical, but if I could get some eyes on them eventually, that'd be great.
Can you remind us what they do?
Yeah, so I have PR 8263, which is to allow in constraints processing all at once. So instead of just X filtering, passing one constraint to the table generator, we can instead just pass all of the values at once. I've gone through and tested all of the columns that seem to work with this change. So that's the entire focus of that PR. I previously had some table generation changes to work with this, but I pulled those out because I felt like that was maybe too big of a change for this PR. And the other PR I have, which is 8182, is to update Linux disk encryption and block devices, the entire table implementation. The reason being that we can't currently pass in constraints, or we can't really use them properly, because when we're trying to get data about a child device, and if we only are querying for that child device, then we will lose some of the metadata because of the way that sorry, it's been a little bit since I've had this PR on my mind, but basically just sorry, I apologize for that. I'm a little lost in my own thought. Yeah, I'm trying to remove the usage of udev because there's not a clean necessary way to get child metadata unless you query all of the devices, or at least all of the parents of that child. So my implementation is basically just to make it work so regardless of what context we pass in, we can get all of the metadata of the parents of whatever device, block device we're trying to query for.
I think those make sense, but
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing is that the process in PR 8263 has the Windows build fitting. Not entirely sure why, but
Yeah, I was looking at that and I wasn't quite sure what the issue was with that either.
yeah, that's not sure. I mean, the change, like it seems it's having issues with the tables.h header, but I mean, Yeah, not sure. You did only one change, which like one line change, which seems correct to me. Also, the other places that have compiled it. So, I mean, if that header is failing, means and there's no error, like we have just looked at, it means some other headers that header is including as issues. But yeah, I don't see. I don't think you have touched any other header, so. I'm not sure what's happening. Could it be that somehow that in is a macro somewhere for Microsoft for for the Microsoft compiler, and so it is being substituted with something weird.
Okay.
That's the only explanation. I think. Yeah, I think it might be colliding with some other definition.
Okay.
You would need. I mean, obviously, you can try to change the name and see if the error goes away. The other way would be to take the command line from the compiler that compiles the file that includes that header, and then add, I think, I only recall right now on Linux. On Linux, it will be like /e, basically to tell it please stop at the pre-processing phase, and it will dump out the preprocessed file, so you can see if that keyword has remained as in or has been substituted by something else.
Okay.
But yeah, the quickest way would be just try to change the name and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just go ahead and do it real quick.
I have some more time this week to look into it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Look, the rest of it, yeah. And that's the /p, the switch to the
I updated the operator name, so I guess we'll see if that works out.
Other things people want to talk about? Okay, and maybe we should end it. Thank you all for your time and knowledge and code. And I hope folks have a good August.
Thank you. See ya.
Thanks, Hal.
Thank you.
Bye.